Yeah, so good to
How
see
you
you,
doing?
Bart. It's been a while.
How cool is this? Very cool. I'm very happy to talk with you, man.
It's pleasure, mate. Pleasure, mate. It's been a long time. So, how was your day so far?
All I've done today is get some sleep and eat breakfast and do a little cleaning and take a shower and shave. So it's pretty much just starting out. You must be the end of the day for you, right?
Yes, it's almost the end of the day, but I need to complete a little bit of work. You know, right? I work for a company based out of Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So,
really?
I kind of work on the EST hours. I mean, almost till 1 p.m. EST.
Okay. What do you do? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm a HR director.
Nice. I'm unemployed.
What do you do? What's your area of expertise?
The, for the last so many years, I've been driving a truck because I got my commercial driver's license. And Class B. And the last company I worked for is corporate out of Texas.
Hmm.
And out of nowhere, they fired me because there's a lot of deer here in my area. It's very forested.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years, I've hit 3 deer with my personal vehicle on my personal time. So because I drive for this company, uh, down in human resources in Texas, they're like, "Oh, you've been in too many accidents. Our
Mm.
insurance carrier won't cover you." And I'm just like, "Yeah, but they're with deer on my own time. They're no fault accidents. So they don't. It doesn't matter. They didn't give my employer any notice or anything. So I lost my job, which I love because it gives me time to work on all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that makes income a more difficult situation. But there's nothing so priceless as time.
Yeah.
So, do you ever come to Pennsylvania?
No, not it.
That's not too far from me. So, if you come up, you'll have to let me know.
Definitely, we'll catch up. Absolutely. So, in a couple of years, probably. So, with this administration, I don't think I'll be able to travel. So, when things change, probably because I won't get a visa.
Gotcha. And I can see the Iron Maiden logo, but I can't see what Iron Maiden shirt you're wearing.
Oh, this is Killers.
Killers, of course. All
Yeah,
right.
one of the best albums,
Classic.
I would say.
You like that? Is their best album?
Uh,
I hear that a lot. I mean, I grew up with it, and I'm sure a lot of metalheads are going to call me a poser for saying this, the old school guys, but my favorite album by any band ever is Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time.
That's a great album.
And it's amazing. I think a lot of the old school guys don't like it. Like, I remember when I was a kid, they're like, oh, it's got like guitar synthesizers and whatever. And it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's not like to me the songwriting is just amazing. And one thing I've noticed, at least about myself, and I think this is true with other people, is the songs and the bands and the albums that hook us when we're young, that it's like it creates a neural net in our brain or something,
Okay.
and we're always chasing that classic memory or feeling. So
Yeah.
there's a few albums or a bunch of albums from when I was very young, because I got into metal when I was like, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I knew I wanted to be a guitar player,
Yeah.
by the time I was 8. And I can remember when Somewhere in Time was released. And my cousins, who I looked up to, who got me into all this stuff, they were teenagers. And my cousin, he's like, "Oh man, you gotta hear the new Iron Maiden." And he put on Caught Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
And I guess I would have been about 10 years old.
Mm.
And I'll never forget that opening riff. And for the rest of my life, I mean, it's one of my most cherished
Yeah.
memories. And another one too would be Ozzy Osbourne put out the tribute to Randy Rhoads
Yeah, yeah.
live album.
Great
Ozzy
album.
Osbourne
Yeah,
tribute.
yeah.
That's the album that made me want to be a guitar player.
Amazing.
And it's those moments in my childhood that made me who I am in a way.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Good to hear that. So, what almost 10 years of hiatus and back to the scene. So, would you like to tell me a little bit on what's going to happen with penetration in 2026?
It's a huge it's almost shameful for me to even think about or talk about that it's been 10 years because this was my dream. And when I formed Penetration, we tried to play some kind of small tour every year.
Mm,
um and I think the big changes, there was a number of big changes that affected our output. And one of those changes was we had Mark Rain join us on drums. He played with Destruction
mm,
9 years, I think, and he played with Morgoth. This was huge for us. And that became our most successful tour ever when we toured Europe with him in 2013. The downside is now, our drummer lives on the other side of the world pretty much. And with a limited budget, it, I mean, we either got to fly him here or fly ourselves there. And so I know this isn't directly answering your question. You're asking me what's going on with 2026, but basically the hard reality of life took over for me. When I recorded the last album or EP, Hell Wants More Souls in Sweden with Andy LaRock, that was our second European tour with Mark. And the recording, of course, is expensive, and all the touring is expensive. And I came back and I said, I'm just gonna kind of pause the game here and try to pay off debt and build a little nest egg or whatever, and then get Penetration going in a little bit. And the sad reality that I found is that debt pretty much never ends. When you're middle class or poor, you can't easily escape this trap. And I tried to bring us back for 2020 for a tour, and then COVID-19 shut the whole world down.
yeah.
So that delayed everything, and unfortunately, then I got arrested in 2022, and that put my personal life on hold for basically at least 3 or 4 years. And at this point, especially because I got laid off or I lost my job, I'm trying to really focus on getting another book published, because I already published one, which would be my autobiography, while getting the band going, getting more music going. Um, Another reality about touring Europe is, at least from my understanding from the past, is even if I started booking a show today in Europe, it can't be any sooner than 6 months to a year from now. It's not like you can just call the local bar in Germany and say, hey, we're coming over. Like it takes a lot of time. So the hope is that we will return for a tour and at least some kind of recording in 2027, while here in 2026 I rebuild our social media presence
Mm,
and start doing interviews again.
yeah.
And one thing I want to do is when we released Hell Wants More Souls 10 years ago, I only actually publicly released two of those songs, Metalheads Forever
Yes.
and See You in Guantanamo. But the opening two tracks, War Will Never End, and the title track, Hell Wants More Souls, unless somebody knows something I don't, they're not online. Um, so my goal is to shortly release one of those two songs online, and then release the second one eventually. And in the meantime, I'm trying to get CD Baby Unlocked I got problems with my account and all this stuff I'm trying to figure out. So it's basically at a step where I'm trying to rebuild our social media presence, rebuild the band during 2026 so that in 2027 we can finally tour and record again, which time flies, man. The
Yeah,
year's half over already.
yeah, absolutely,
So
mate. Absolutely. And rewinding 10 years back, you you helped us make history being the first magazine to have an official anthem that you did for us, which we will never forget that moment that you gave for us, especially to the founder of the magazine, David Maloney. May his soul rest in peace. So it was an amazing time, and we were so proud for what you did for us. And how do you feel about doing something like that for us?
I, and I mean no disrespect, but I don't feel like I did it for you. I feel like you did it for me. Um, I I live in the middle of nowhere. I live in the woods basically, and there's no metal scene here, and I'm a bit disconnected from the worldwide metal scene because of that. Which I guess is no excuse, with social media. And I do go to as many shows as I can. Uh, I went to Maryland Death Fest um, over Memorial Day weekend at the end of May. And here it is, like 3 days later. I'm just back from Maryland Death Fest, and I'm in the gym. I work out all the time. I'm in the gym in Watertown, New York, and I try to stay off my phone when I'm in the gym because it sucks you in, and scrolling on Facebook and stuff between sets. But I happen to look at my phone, and I see that Pentagram, who's one of my favorite bands ever, is playing in Rochester, New York
Mhm.
that night. And it's already 5 o'clock at night, and that's a 2.5 hour drive away. Man, I washed the machine off, went straight to the shower, drove straight to Rochester, and caught Pentagram just in time. I try to go to as many shows as I can, but I know I went on a little tangent there. But because I'm so disconnected from the scene, other than going to shows, at the time when I wrote Metalheads Forever, I had never even heard of the web scene,
Yeah.
believe it or not. And I'll tell you a fantastic story. I've been super involved in mysticism and the occult for 31 years, and that includes things like trying to do dream work. And at the time when I wrote Metalheads Forever, I picked up my guitar, and my favorite band ever is Motorhead. And I said, man, I want to come up with something that just sounds like Motorhead would write it. And that's when I came up with that opening riff. And I jammed around on that opening riff a little bit, and then I think I came up with the chorus riff with the double bass, which to me reminds me a little bit of like Accept, like Fast as a Shark or something. And the song is full of those references. That's where I say, I'll force you to accept, and then I go into that riff. Well, that's all I had. And then I took a nap, and I went into the most lucid dream I've ever had. And it's almost like some kind of divine intervention happened. And in this lucid dream, it was like everything was still real, almost like real life, and time basically stopped. And I wrote the entire solo themes for Metalheads Forever in this lucid dream and practiced them over and over for like, it seemed like 8 hours in my lucid dream. In my dream, I practiced those, the songwriting progression of Metalheads Forever all day, over and over, just working those solos out. And then I woke up and I had the song. And that's how that song came to be. So we then eventually, went to Sweden and recorded the song with Andy LaRock of King Diamond. Um, and I released the song online, and then David Maloney writes me, and he absolutely loved it, and he asked me if you guys could adopt it as your anthem, and of course, I'm blown away. I mean, what's the chances? It was like divine intervention, you know?
Mm.
And so of course I said yes, and then I mailed him a copy of the EP and our older CDs, Victory or Death and Return to Sodom. And he only lived 4 hours away from me in Canada.
Yeah.
And he was blown away by the EP. And I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but he stressed it. He's like, "Man, I absolutely love you guys. It's it's really, oh, top of the line." And he really started pushing us. He actually made that video for
Mm.
Metalheads for all the live
Yeah.
stuff. We're not even in that. That's not us. He had no footage of us because we were so underground,
Yeah.
but he wanted to help us. So he made this video for us, and for Metalheads Forever, a webzine. And that's how deeply committed he was to trying to help us, get bigger and get more promotion and tour and record. And when he passed away, it was just like a huge kick in the balls, um, for all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I had really established a connection with him over the internet. We talked, all the time, and we're always trying to get ideas to, you know, to to promote penetration or do a tour recording, and also talking about meeting ourselves.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is I got banned from Canada a long time ago, a long story, but
Mm.
so I couldn't get into Canada, and it basically was up to him to come sometime and visit me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I guess we both moved too slow on this,
Yeah.
and unfortunately he passed away. And it was around this same time where I kind of fell off the radar myself with the band, getting sucked into my personal life and just working and whatnot. And we just kind of went into hibernation and until recently, So to go back to answering your question, I mean, I don't, of course, I'm honored that you say, "Oh, how does it make you feel to do this for us?" I don't feel like we did it for you. I feel like you did it for us. It's it's you guys who paid us this honor and us this compliment. It was David's vision and David's admiration for us and acknowledgement from the very beginning
Mm.
that gave us this privilege. And ultimately, this really does come down to, there is a symbiotic relationship between the artist and the fans, but no artist should ever, you know, ignore the fans or you know, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for here is, not acknowledge the fans. I mean, you guys did this for us. We're, even though we've been very successful on an underground level, it's all the bands that have helped us and supported us. It's all the fans, the promoters, and you guys, whatever. I mean, yeah, we put the music out and we try to tour when we can, but it really is the feedback and the dedication and friendship from people all over the world like you guys that make us and every band successful. It takes a lot of people. I mean, people don't realize how much goes into even one concert, especially for a big band like, Metallica or something. There's a lot of people behind the scenes
Yeah.
committed to that project. So, I mean, all I can really say is I just, it's been the greatest blessing in the world for me. Um, what you guys did for us is one of my greatest highlights of my career. It's one of the things I'm the most proud of. And I mean, it's been my dream, to be a successful artist and musician, and I can only be grateful for as far as I've gotten with it. But it's things like this that make me so proud and so grateful.
Mm.
That it makes me feel like even if I die today, or even if we never play again today, what you guys did for us with the anthem, nobody can ever take that away from me. And it's a success in itself. Just like playing with Mark Rain, he, even before I'd ever met him, he was one of my favorite drummers. And Andy LaRocque is pretty much my guitar hero. Even if we never play again today, or even if I die today, in a way, I won the game. Sure, we're not Slayer, we're not Metallica, but I at least achieved monumental, um, achievements and goals as a aspiring artist.
Definitely. Thank
So
you.
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks to you. So we are similarly, we are very much honored, and still we cherish those moments whenever the video pops up, and is always on the Materials for Magazine official YouTube channel, and is always there along with the other interviews. And you are one of the best we had since the start. So thanks to you for the awesomeness and for penetration.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to everybody.
And and speaking on penetration, like you came up with your self-titled EP and a couple of European tours you did, and you opened up for Exodus, and a couple of other
Yes.
EPs came down the line, and then 10 years back, it's almost like end of penetration. Like there are no more news from penetration. So what exactly happened during the last 10 years?
Not much. um, it, the reality is, hindsight is always 2020, like they say. Um, I cannot stress enough to people because spoiler alert, I'm getting a little older now. And with age comes wisdom. And I cannot stress enough to people how important it is to stay focused and stay focused on your objective. As I told you, I'm really into the occult, and that includes studying things like the tree of life, or the Kabbalistic tree of life. And one thing one of my former teachers told me, he said, there's all these stages on the tree of life, but the end goal is to get to the top, or the end. And the most efficient way you can get there is the direct path. You can move all over and go backwards and forwards and meander all over, but you got to stay focused to get from point A to point B most efficiently. And looking back in hindsight, a lack of focus when I was younger is part of the problem. Um, like I said earlier, money was a huge issue. Look, money solves all things.
Yeah.
If I had a ton of money, we would have kept pushing out albums or whatever. Um, but it's like one day I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God, it's been like years. We haven't played in years. And that time just escaped me, and unfortunately, back in those days, I never had like a bad drug problem or anything like some people, but I'd drink every day, have beers every day, and smoke a lot of weed and stuff. And I think it contributed to a lack of focus,
Mhm.
and time slips by. So basically, I mean, I worked and I worked and I worked at a day job, trying to get ahead, trying to eliminate debt. Um, because the personal life is very important. Right now, for example, I'm building an addition on my house. My mother is old. She's worried she's going to pass away soon, or have to move into a home or something. So I've got to figure out what to do with everything at her house. Like there's a tractor up there, a lawnmower, all that. So I'm building an addition with a garage. All this personal stuff in my life had to take precedence, and working and paying bills. But basically in the last 10 years, penetration just went on ice. And it's crazy to me in hindsight because I was so obsessed and dedicated with playing guitar when I was younger. That's all I did. Guitar, 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 guitar. Just work on solo technique or whatever. And when I got back from recording Hell Wants More Souls in Europe, it's the last thing we ever did. I hung my guitars up and I did not even practice guitar of any kind, uh, probably for 9 years. I focused on bodybuilding. That's basically what I do.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding and just building my life and trying to focus on building money, which I'm telling you, man, it's like a vicious circle. You can't escape it. I just worked overtime at my job for 15 months, but it doesn't matter. And I had a good job. Now the price of gas is higher. The price of everything else is higher because of the price of gas.
Yeah.
It's so hard to escape this financial trap. And penetration has never had any kind of record label or funding or anything. And here's a secret as to why, people are like, how did you fund the band? How did you pull all this off? Well, I managed everything myself.
Yeah.
I would go online, find out where bands played in Europe, bands I liked, and then try to, send promotional packages and act as manager and get us booked. And, maybe 50 places wouldn't even bother to write me, or maybe some of them couldn't give me the dates I wanted, but every now and then I'd get one. So I did it all myself. And at the time, I used to grow a lot of plants, if you know what I mean. And my friends would buy the plants, and I would, or after the plants were harvested, and I would save my money up and put the band on tour.
Yeah.
And at some point in New York, that didn't become an option anymore because now you can just go to the store and get it.
Yeah.
So, basically, I focused on my personal life for 10 years. I did publish. Well, I had this. I had a very bizarre series of occult experiences throughout my life as a history of as an occult student. And in 2020, the most bizarre things that anybody could even imagine happened to me. I don't expect everybody to believe me. Probably most people won't believe me, but as a result, just can you hold on for a
Yeah,
second?
surely.
Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Now, I should have thought to have this here, but I published this book,
Oh,
Necronomicon 2020,
yeah.
or Necronomicon MMXX, it's Roman numerals, on Amazon Books under my name, A. And I wanted to write real Necronomicon. I'm not saying the old one's fake. I think, I understand the origins of the Necronomicon and truth to the Necronomicon known as the Simon Edition. I also believe that some of it was fabricated. But I wanted to write a real Necronomicon, so I dug out all my old documented and dated notebooks of occult and paranormal experiences, and I published them into this book. And so everything in it is real. It's all dated and documented. And I don't want to get off on that tangent unless you want to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. It's the most recent thing I did, but that's basically what happened. And I did a massive publicity stunt to get the attention of the world all at once as an author, which got me arrested by the FBI terrorist task force.
Mm.
And That's a huge story. I mean, I could talk about that all day. There's a lot of details to it. But basically, they covered everything up. They covered all my, my publicity stunt up. At least that's my opinion. Um, and they defamed me, and it was like character assassination. They control the media, so they decided what they wanted the public to hear, which was, they caught the bad guy and labeled me as a character in my most recent short story, The Chinese Zodiac Killer. And they knew I'm not a serial killer, but this is, I think they do this, all the time to people. The justice system, they arrest, the public narrative is, and that person is stuck with that uh, legacy or stigma for the rest of their life. But the thing is, look, I have some notoriety as the frontman for Penetration. Plus, I have that book published, and in the occult, there's something called the Philosopher's Stone. Now, it's debatable what this actually means, but to me, it has a lot to do with at least the philosophical aspect of it, not the elk. Originally, it had to do with trying to turn lead to gold. But there's also a philosophical perspective to it, which, in my opinion, is everything that happens to you is of your design subconsciously, or whether you want to say it's God's plan or whatever. Um, it's everything happens for a better reason, but you have to see it as a better reason. You have to see that lead that you're given can be turned to gold. You have to see, no matter what is handed to you, you can find a way to turn that into a good thing. So, they labeled me as this Chinese Zodiac killer. It was probably the dumbest move they could have made if they wanted to cover my story up, because that made everybody want to know the story.
Yeah.
If they would have said, oh, it just turns out he was an author and a metalhead and he was like doing a publicity stunt, I think honestly less people would care. But instead, by calling me a cannibal killer or something, now everybody wants to know. If you look at my TikTok channel or my YouTube, I always almost use this as clickbait. I start off, howdy, I'm the Chinese Zodiac Killer, arrested by the FBI Terrorist Task Force and called a cannibal killer. Right there, people are going to watch the video.
Yeah.
Because it's something I'm using, instead of as a curse, I'm going to use it as a blessing. And it helps me get my true story told. So, sorry to disappoint everybody that I'm not really a cannibal, but the story, my true story, I think is far more fascinating. And again, I don't expect people to believe me, but depending on how much time you have and how curious you are, I mean, I have had incredible, mind-blowing, mystical and magical or occult experiences and paranormal experiences. I pushed it to the extreme, and the results reflected in this. So, I mean, the last major thing that ever happened to me is I went to a desolate island in the middle of the mountain wilderness, and I made contact with something that is not a human being. I don't know what it was. I wish I could tell you what it was. I have ideas, but it appeared twice to me and made physical contact with me. And these experiences absolutely blew my mind. People don't realize how deeply it impacts your psyche. It really messes with your head, or at least it did mine. But so you asked me what I've been doing for the last 10 years. That's all the crazy shit I've been doing.
And what were there? Amazing. So is it still available online?
Yes, you can get it on Amazon Books. It's Necronomicon MMXX, which is pronounced Necronomicon 2020.
Yeah.
It's Roman numerals. As an author, and somebody who's trying to get my book known, it made it a little trickier for me by giving it Roman numerals, because if I say it's Necronomicon 2020, nobody's going to find that because it's printed as Necronomicon MMXX. And I printed it uh, under the pseudonym A. Crowley, like Aleister Crowley. It's actually a riddle. It means, like another Crowley, another Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
But it's on there, and if anybody needs help finding the link, they can write me at my profile on Facebook or my email, something like that.
Great, great. And you spoke about your experiences in occult and mysticism. Were there instances where certain things were horrifying you or haunting you towards something that you want to share? So any of those instances with me?
There, it's hard for me to answer the question, because it's so philosophical in nature and speculative. As far as my publicity stuff, I engineered that on my own. I said, what would be the most efficient way to get mass media attention? Point A, point B. And basically, I realized, first of all, I wanted it to be something non-violent. Okay? You can go out and burn a church. That's not gonna, I mean, yeah, we're Norwegian black metal band, but they all piss a lot of people off. You're hurting a lot of people, and really what they value, and you're hurting yourself. So violence is not. I just want to make clear that this was intended to be non-violent. What can I do that's non-violent? Will also shock people and really turn some heads. And it's a very deep story, but and I feel like I'm not answering your question directly. I'm going on a tangent here, but I engineered this publicity stunt, and something is definitely guiding me. It seems like, or I'm guiding myself onto a greater path. I believe that since the beginning of time, uh, people have asked, what is the meaning of life? Why are you here? Who is God? Who is the devil? What happens after you die? I think that there's no one answer. I think that there's a number of answers, but I think one thing that we are meant to do is to evolve our consciousness. I think that it's like our brains, our consciousness is kind of, and as we awaken ourselves or evolve our consciousness, the magic of the great mystery begins to reveal itself. And when this happens, the path to our destiny opens up. So the path I chose was very difficult. It involved me getting arrested. It involved my character being assassinated. It involved me going to prison, dealing with a lane. But I believe it's the direct path to opening up my destiny. How can, for example, how can I get my story told about all my experiences, or vice versa? How can I give penetration to be missed and acknowledged when there is a million other talented bands and a million other bands that suck but have a lot of money, and a million other. And the major media outlets are basically controlled. What that will separate us from all the rest? Because the some guitar player is better than me, and a ton of bands that are awesome, and they can't get the recognition they deserve because they don't have the money, or they're stuck in whatever track they're stuck in. I guarantee there's some guitar player out there who still lives in his mom's basement who's just blowing everybody away, but nobody knows who he is. So what can I do to get people to notice my trade and our music? And if being, the Chinese Zodiac killer and being arrested by the FBI terrorist task force is what will do to make me successful, that's the question. Was it worth the pain? Was it worth the suffering? Because otherwise I may never be successful. And I may never be successful still. There's if you've ever seen movie Bart with Mel Gibson, he gives some speech and he says, "You can run and you can hide and not fight, but decades from now, when you're old man and you lay in your beds dying, would trade all the days since to go back to that one day and go for it and try your best to make that sacrifice to see if it was worth it." And that's how I do things. It was a lot of pain and it was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hardship, but in the end, if I never would have tried it, I would have felt like I gave up when I started. I never, at least I could say to my best. At least I could say I poured my heart out into it. I sacrificed myself. I did everything I could to bring attention, to my experiences and my stories, and try to show the world that reality is not what we believe. It's much deeper. There's a lot more to reality than we realize. And, look at the trace, look who we are, look how far we made it with no record label support. But if I never made this sacrifice, would even have known? Will it pay off in the end? Will it happen for nothing? I don't know. But if I would not have made the effort and made that sacrifice, I probably hate myself for not trying. So ultimately, to kind of answer your question, what is guiding me, or is there something here? I'm it's like working in the occult. I'm opening my own path to my own destiny while being guided by who knows what. You know what I mean? So I can achieve greater destiny. And look, whether you believe Jesus Christ or Odin or there's all sorts of people from history and mythology that show us that we can sacrifice ourselves and sacrifice our character for something greater. There's activists, through history, and there's our religious teachings and mythology that show us if you sacrifice yourself for the greater good or greater achievement or whatever, that may in the end be what you need to do to show that you are not as important as a personality as the greater cause. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes a big statement.
Yeah.
because we're all dead in the end, right?
Yep.
We all die. So, yeah, I mean, we all love ourselves, or at least a lot of us do, right? We all love our personality. We love our TVs, our music, our video games, or whatever. We love everything. We love our homes. We love our families, our pets.
Mm.
But ultimately, in the end, we're just dust in the wind.
Yeah. True.
And if you can find a way to show the world, hey, I'm willing to give it all up for something greater, to me, that means something.
Yeah. So,
I did it in a fucked up way, but hey,
thanks for all your
I
insights,
wouldn't
Bart.
I wouldn't be me if I didn't do it in a fucked up, warped manner. So
Thanks,
that's
thanks.
how I operate.
Thanks for all your insights here. And does any of your thoughts and your writings on this Necromonic in 2020 will have some inspiration towards your upcoming music?
That's a great question. When I started Penetration, well, I played guitar for years. I never had musicians to work with. I just practiced by myself all the time. And I really struggled with songwriting because if you've never played with a drummer
Mm.
or have anybody to work with, it's for me it was hard to learn how to write songs at first. And to be honest with you, I would try to write songs and then I'd get pissed off and say, "This sucks, I hate it," and throw it out. Well, when Penetration formed in around 2005,
Mm.
I said, I've had enough. I'm just going to throw some riffs together. I'm going to throw some lyrics together. I don't care how much I hate it or how stupid it sounds. I'm going to come up with something and make a song. And I think the first song I wrote was Ritual Decapitation. And, I threw some riffs together that reminded me of Exodus. And I wrote some lyrics about being sacrificed to Satan
Mm.
and having your head cut off. Okay. That sounds pretty metal.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it's a little redundant and overdone and ridiculous. I mean, it's cool, but it's like, okay, you know, uh, spoiler alert, I have no experience cutting people's heads off. It's not something I do. So it's not a very personal song to me. And as a songwriter, now that I've evolved and I'm writing songs from my dreams and whatnot, I look back on that song and I'm like, it's a cool tune and I'm proud of it, but it's just kind of riff, chorus, kind of cheesy or whatever. After my illumination and after all these experiences and after everything I've been through, I'm I feel like anything that I write in the future that's not personally related to something I'm trying to say is kind of it's not silly, but let's let's say I wrote a song about zombies or whatever. That's pretty metal. It's been done before, but who cares? It's pretty metal. We can
Yeah.
have 100 more songs about zombies. That's
Absolutely.
awesome, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, that doesn't carry the same weight or quality as a song about what I went through or what I experienced or the state of the world. Um, you know the the song Metalheads Forever, I think that's a great lyrical song because it's about me growing up as a boy and all of a sudden being turned on to Iron Maiden, Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, Alice Cooper. And I actually tried to arrange the lyrics chronologically to reflect that. That's why right at the beginning, I sing about Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Mr. Crowley put me on a crazy train. It was Crazy Train that made me want to play guitar. I heard that and I was just like, I want a polka dotted flying V. I was like 8 years old.
Mm.
And so that song is a reflection
Mm.
of my evolution as a metal fan. And you'll notice in the middle of the song, I say, now I'm a veteran of a thousand psychic wars. Now, that's a Blue Oyster Cult reference, right? But then I say penetration and deadly force. It's telling my life story as a metalhead. And likewise, like "See You in Guantanamo," the lyrics are very reflective of how we are basically slowly, or even faster and faster, and progressively being more and more locked down as a society by our masters.
Yeah.
Um, they're putting more laws on us with stiffer penalties. They're finding more ways to control us. They're locking more people up than ever. And to me, that it's reflective of our current events, and the true horror of what we are going through as a society. That carries much more value and weight and power than about zombies. On the other hand, maybe they'll make zombies. Who knows? Survive. But for the time being, I want to try to focus on telling a story and the things I've experienced, like I wrote about in Necronomicon 2020. And you know, I really want to use penetration as some kind of almost political platform to get my message out to the world. And this thing I said in the beginning of my publicity stunt. And yes, this sounds crazy, but look at it. If Alice Cooper or Ozzy when he was alive, or James Hetfield said, "I'm going to run for president," I guarantee you, James Hetfield would probably get elected. Ronald Reagan was an actor. He got elected, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, an actor and a bodybuilder. He got elected governor. Jesse Ventura got elected. These pop culture people, well, not to call them pop culture, but, politicians. Look at Donald Trump. I mean, he was basically a pop culture media television guy slash entrepreneur, and he got himself elected over Hillary Clinton and then Kamala Harris, who are traditional politicians. If Metallica, if Lars ran for president, he could probably win. And I told myself, I said, how are we going to make changes in the world? And again, it's very important that you sacrifice yourself for the greater good that's what's needed to be done. And I know this sounds crazy, and it's just so hypothetical. But theoretically, what if this publicity stunt I did and my book series and penetration and everything blew up to where we really do get as big as whoever? And I said, I'll give it all up. If you ever want to write me in, I will take responsibility myself to clean up this shit show. So back to what I'm trying to do with my music. I want my music from this point on to have some kind of personal agenda or objective. We can use music to change the world. It doesn't mean you have to get back to president. I get it, but you can use music to change the world. That's much more powerful than writing about zombies, which are cool. Zombies are cool. I like zombies, but why not? Let's say when you're old and you're looking back at your career, that's one thing if you're Slayer, and you're like, yeah, we wrote songs about Ed Gein or serial killers or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a massive out of your music. Let's say you never get bigger than I do now, or more successful. And you look back at it and you realize you wrote songs about zombies or ritual decapitation or whatever. To me, it makes much more sense to look back on your life and say, I wrote music And I did things to change not just the world, but as an occultist, reality itself. You know, we not change the world, we can change reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic, Bart. Fantastic. And like you said earlier, 2027 new penetration music is coming out, and so
Hopefully.
there are so many great things that is going to happen when it comes to penetration. So we are all looking forward for great news from penetration with more music, probably some amazing music videos from penetration. So how excited are you to get back into the phase of creating new music, and what are your focus for 2027 apart from making music?
I mean, this is my dream. This is my objective. It's a matter of finding that very hidden path or very difficult path to making it successful. And I want to throw this out there again. You know, we've never had label support. We've never had any kind of support. I did everything myself. You know, certainly the other guys have helped out too. Um, you know, if there's any record, anybody who's interested, any promoters or anybody who's interested in us, or working with us or have us come play or whatever, or recording an album for us or whatever, we're open to discussion on it. Because like I said at the very beginning, we're in this together. You know, that you see takes a lot of people. And the fans, the artists, we're all in this together. So you know, ultimately, if anybody wants to help collaborate anything, you know, they should definitely reach out. And you know, we don't have a website, we don't have a Facebook page or anything. I do have and YouTube at Chinese Zodiac Killer. So I would hope everybody subscribe to check it out. And you can email me at gmail.com. Just spell Raven like a bird, RAVENLEY 93 at gmail. Anybody wants to reach out, you know, even just to say they like our music, just send me hate mail. You hate me, send me some hate mail. For doing it on TikTok or YouTube, then the algorithm still help me. But um, you know, I'm you know, you ask me how excited I am. I mean, I'm probably too excited because I got my head level. It doesn't matter how excited I am. What matters is that I stay focused and get from point A to point B and get the work done. And I mean, at this point, man, I haven't smoked weed in over 5 years. I don't really drink. All I do is work out and stay healthy and try to stay as focused on everything as possible so that I can get everything achieved that I dream of. The hardest part is not sleeping. I get so fucking tired, I gotta sleep. But you know, other than sleeping at night, I'm full blown into productivity mode.
Awesome, awesome, amazing, Bart. So, Bart, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview and welcoming you back again to Metalheads for our magazine on a nice, awesome insights about your life, about the past, about making up materials for our anthem, and your 2027 plans on penetration, and a lot of insights on your Necromonic in 2020 and some of those experiences. Really enjoy this interview, and it's a real pleasure talking to you. And I'm hoping to talk to you more in the coming days and follow you on the steps that you take for the 2027 music creation. So we'll be part of your journey, and whatever support you needed, I'll be there. Just shoot me as you always message me, and we will work together, and let's do something beautiful for 2027, and let's catch up, brother.
Yeah, and you mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna keep you updated. I'm going to try to get those hidden tracks released online for people to check out. So kind of be like material, right?
Yeah.
Like D tracks. And you know, as I get more social media progress on, I'll keep you updated. And you talk to me anytime, you run me anytime, even if you just want to ask how I'm doing, or you make time about anything, and anybody else can too, you know, if they're interested. Um, so I guess that's it. If it's a way, you know, I can post some social links or something after, let me know. And other than that, I mean, I'm excited, man. And I'm telling you, when we've been offered tours, we've been offered festival in Hawaii, festival in Puerto Rico, festival in Costa Rica, South America, New Year's Eve in Australia, Japan. And of course, you know, we didn't have the money for everything. So it's up to me where I signed us. And I'm committed to taking us to Europe and India. I want to take Europe again, of course, Tom's there. And I want to take us to India, man.
Absolutely. We'll work on it, but we'll make sure this is going to happen for sure. Fingers crossed. Let's do
I'm
it.
going to ride the tiger, man.
Take care, Bart, and thanks again for this opportunity. And you have a great day ahead, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, man. It's
Okay.
my honor.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.